Okay, we are going to look at making a table of values. So for the example, it says evaluate the equation with each x value to create a table of values. So here's what you need to know in this table. You have x values that are given to you, and then you have an equation. This is like a function rule. So this says in order to get y equals, you're going to take whatever x is and add 4 to it. Okay, so we're being given these x values, and we're going to take them and put them in this function, in this rule. We're going to take them, put them in the place for x, and add 4, and that will get us the y. So then you'll get your y value out of that function, and then you'll write an ordered pair with the x and the y. So the x from here and the y from here, just written as an ordered pair. So I'll get you started off here. So first of all, you need to notice we have an equation that says y equals x plus 4. Okay, so whatever x plus 4 is, that's what y will equal. So I look at my x values, I have -2 that was given, and I'm going to plug it in for x. So on the line is where x is going to go. And then I have -1 that was given. I'll plug it in on the line for x. Then I have 0 that was given. Plug it in on the line for x. 1 that was given. Plug it in on the line for x. And then 2, I'll plug that in for x. So you can see where I highlighted, that's where you're going to plug it in. Okay, you're going to plug in that x value. So first one, I'm taking -2, I'm plugging it in, and then I just evaluate this part of the equation. I figure out, well, -2 plus 4 is 2. So that tells me that y equals 2, okay, because there's y on the left-hand side of the equation. So in the y column, what I got for the answer when I evaluated this, I got 2. So I'm just going to write this in the y column. So I got 2 there. Now for my ordered pair, I go look at what I was given for x, -2, and I write that as the first number because it's x comma y. And then I look at what I got for the y value, 2. So I write comma 2 and I put parentheses around it. So this ordered pair tells you you put a -2 in, and you got a 2 when you evaluated the equation with the -2 in there. Okay, let's try the next one here. So if I take a -1 and I plug it in for x right there, I have y equals -1 plus 4. Okay, then I'm going to evaluate this part. -1 plus 4 is 3. So I know y would equal 3. So I'll go write that in the y column. And then for my ordered pair, I see on the x column, I have -1. I plugged in a -1. So I'm going to write -1, comma, and then I got out a 3. Okay, for 0, plug in 0 for x. So 0 plus 4 is 4. So the y equals 4. I'm going to record that on my y column. For my ordered pair, I plugged in 0, so that's x. I got out 4. 0, comma 4. Next one, plug in 1. So I'm going to do 1 plus 4. Well, 1 plus 4 is 5. So y equals 5. I'm going to write that in the y column. And then for my ordered pair, I know x is 1, so I write 1, comma, I see the y here is 5, 5. So 1, comma 5. So for the last one, I'm going to plug in 2 for the x value. So it'll be 2 plus 4. I know 2 plus 4 is 6. So that's my y value. And then for my ordered pair, I look on the x side, I plugged in 2. So I write 2, comma, and I got out 6. 2, comma 6 with parentheses. Okay, for the next one, moving across the page, the top right one, notice our function says y equals -1x plus 7. So this is the rule, -1 times x plus 7. Okay, see, I'm going to plug in a number for x, but in front of it is -1. So first when I plug it in, it says I need to multiply, you might want to write this down, multiply by -1. So whatever I have for x, I'm going to multiply by -1. And then there's a second step this time. I need to add 7 to it. So the order of operations says take care of multiplication before you do this addition or subtraction. So I will plug in a number, multiply it by 1, and add 7. I'll do that for every number I plug in. Multiply by -1 and add 7. Okay, so if we look at -2, I'm going to plug that in for x right here. And then I'm going to evaluate. I'm going to multiply by -1 first. So -1 times -2 is +2. And then I need to bring down this +7. because that's my second step. 2 steps in this equation. I know 2 plus 7 is 9, so what I got out was 9. Okay, then just like we did, we'll record our ordered pair. X was -2, so I write -2. Y was 9, comma 9. Put parentheses around it. Next one, I'm going to take -1 and plug it in right there for x. So I've got -1 times -1. Have to do that part first, which is +1, and then bring down the +7. 1 plus 7 is 8. So what I got out was 8. So record my ordered pair. X was -1, so I write -1, comma, 8 was y, so comma 8, and put parentheses. Next one, I'm going to plug in 0 for x. So 0 goes right there on the line. -1 times 0 is 0. Bring down +7. 0 plus 7 is 7. For my ordered pair, 0, comma, 7. X was 0, y was 7. Next one, I'm plugging in 1. Remember, I'm always plugging a number in, and the rule says multiply that by -1 and then add 7. So I'm going to plug in 1 on the line for x. -1 times 1 is -1, plus 7 would be 6. My ordered pair, I have 1, comma, 6. X was 1, y was 6. And last row for this table, I'm plugging in 2. So plug in 2, multiply it by -1, which is -2, plus 7 is 5. My ordered pair then, x was 2, y was 5, so 2, comma 5. The next equation, the bottom left one, it says y equals 2x minus 3. So I'm going to plug in a value for x. Here's all my x values, -2, -1, 0, 1, 2. I'm going to plug all of those in right there for x, but this time the function, notice, has a 2 that x is multiplied by, and then subtract 3. So you might want to write a little note. First, you're going to multiply by 2, and then you're going to subtract 3. You can see, multiply by 2 for all of these, and then subtract 3. So I'm going to take -2 and I'm going to plug it in for x. And I'm going to first multiply it by 2. So 2 times -2 would be -4. And then I need to bring down the subtract 3. -4 minus 3 is -7. So I record that for my y value. Then for my ordered pair, I plugged in -2 for x, got out -7 for y. So -2, comma, -7. Okay, next I'm going to plug in -1 right here for x. So -1. Okay, and then first I'm going to multiply it by 2. 2 times -1 is -2. Then subtract 3, bring down the -3. -2 minus 3 is -5. So I record that for y. So my ordered pair, I plugged in -1, comma, got out -5. -1, comma, -5. Okay, plug in 0 for x. So first multiply it by 2. 2 times 0 is 0. Bring down the subtract 3, that's the second step. 0 minus 3 is -3. And record that for your y value. For our ordered pair, we plugged in 0, we got out -3. So 0, comma, -3. Okay, then plug in 1 for x. Multiply by 2. 2 times 1 is 2. Then subtract 3. 2 minus 3 is -1. So you record that for the y column. So my ordered pair, I plugged in 1. I got out -1. 1, comma, -1. And last one for this table, plugging in a 2 now for x. So 2 times 2 is 4. Bring down the subtract 3 for the second step. 4 minus 3 is 1. And so then I'll record that I got 1 for the y value. For my ordered pair, I plugged in a 2 and I got out a 1. So 2, 1. Okay, in the last table, the bottom right one, our function says y equals negative 3x minus 5. So notice here, we are going to plug in numbers for x, all of the given values that are given to us in the table. And there's 2 steps. I need to multiply those numbers by negative 3 first, and then subtract 5. So write yourself a little note. You're going to multiply by negative 3, and then subtract 5. Okay, so first one, I'm going to take negative 2, and I'm going to plug it in for x. So right on the line there. Okay, then step 1, multiply by negative 3. So negative 3 times negative 2 is positive 6. And then I'm going to bring down, subtract 5. And then the second step, 6 take away 5 is 1. So I'll record that for the y value of 1. Then my ordered pair, I plugged in negative 2, comma, and got out 1. And put parentheses around it. So negative 2, comma 1. Next one, plug in negative 1. And first, multiply it by negative 3. So negative 3 times negative 1 is positive 3. Second step, bring down, subtract 5. 3 minus 5 is negative 2. So you record that for your y value. So my ordered pair will be negative 1, comma, negative 2. Next, plug in 0. So I'm going to multiply by negative 3. Negative 3 times 0 right here is 0. And then I'm going to bring down this minus 5 and figure out what is 0, take away 5, which would be negative 5. So that's my y value of negative 5. Then my ordered pair, plug in 0, comma, negative 5. So I plugged in a 0, I got a negative 5 out, 0, comma, negative 5. Then plug in a 1 for x. So negative 3 times 1 is negative 3. Bring down, subtract 5. And negative 3 minus 5 is negative 8. My ordered pair would be 1, comma, negative 8. And last one, plug in 2. So negative 3 times 2 is negative 6. Bring down the minus 5. Negative 6 minus 5 is negative 11. And then for my ordered pair, plug in 2, comma, I got out negative 11. So 2, comma, negative 11. Okay, for the next part, we're going to plot points from a table of x and y values. So example 2 says you're going to graph the points in the x and the y table and then connect the points with the line. The nice thing is the table's already been made for you, the x and the y values. So unlike what we just did where you found the y values, this has already been done for you and you have a list of x and y values here. So the directions say first we're going to graph the points, which would be plotting them. And then we're going to connect them with a line. So you want to make a straight line, no curvy or jagged lines. If you end up with something that does not form a straight line, you did something wrong when you plotted your points. So all of these points should form a straight line. So let's take a look here. We have this table of x and y values. We also have a coordinate graph here. Remember, this axis, the horizontal one, that is the x-axis. So go ahead and write x by that so that you have that straight in your mind. And the vertical one, the up and down one, is the y-axis right here. Okay, those correspond to our table of values. So our x values, these first ones on the left, are all the horizontal values, and the y values on the right are all the vertical values. So you'll move over a certain amount to plot a point and then up or down. Okay, notice that we have a list of values. We have, the first one was negative 2 for x and 5 for y. This is like an ordered pair that you're going to plot, where we could put parentheses around it and then throw a comma in the middle, and then that's a point that you're going to plot. But in a table, they're not going to have parentheses and commas. They're just going to have a number on the x side and a number on the y side, and you're going to need to know to plot that. As a reminder, on the x side, to the right is positive, like going up a number line. If you're going down the number line below 0 would be negatives. And then on the Y vertical axis, think of a thermometer. In the middle is 0. Above that is positive. Below that is negative. So putting the positives and negatives on the lines might also help you. So let's take a look at our first point, -2, 5. So I'm going to start at 0. First, I'm moving over. Okay, I'm moving over -2. So here's -2, and then +5. So I go up to 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And I put my point right there. Okay, next one. I have -1, 3. So I start at 0. I go over to -1 and up 3. 1, 2, 3, because it was +3. And I put my point. Next, I have 0, 1. So I start at 0, and my x value is 0. That means go over 0, so I stay where I am. And then the y value is 1, +1, so I go up 1 right here, and I put a point. Then I have 1, -1, so I'm going to start at 0. Now I'm going over to 1 on the x-axis, +1. The y-axis, the y values is -1, so I'm going down 1. So I put my point there. Next one would be 2, -3. So start at 0. I'm going over +2 on the x. And then for the y value, it's -3. So I go down 3 and put my point. And the last one here is 3, 5. So I start at 0. I go over 3. 1, 2, 3. And then I go to -5. So down 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Put my point. Okay, and then you're going to take something straight, like the edge of your notebook, the edge of your binder, and you are going to draw a straight line to connect those points there. And they should all form a straight line. If they don't, you did something wrong. So I'm going to connect and make a straight line out of those points. And you can see that all of the points are on the line. And for the second one, the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to label my axes. So the x-axis right there on the horizontal, the y-axis on the vertical, so I put x and y there. And then I'm going to label the positive and negative sides of the x and y axis. So on the y, the upper part is positive, bottom part is negative. On the x, the part on the right is positive, and below 0 on the left is negative. So my first ordered pair is -2, -6. I start at 0. I move over first to -2, so that would be to the left. 1, 2. There's -2. The y value is -6. That means go down 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. And I'll put my point there. Next one is -1, -3. So I start at 0, 0. I go over to -1. So that would be to the left, -1. Y value is -3, so down 3. 1, 2, 3. Put my point there. Next one is 0, 0, and that's an easy one. Over 0, up 0, right in the middle. We call that the origin. Then I have 1, 3. So I start at 0. The x value is 1, +1. So over to the right 1. And then +3 for the y value, up 3. 1, 2, and 3. And last one is 2, 6. So I start at 0, 0, over 2, 1, 2, up 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6 up at the top. And then I need to draw a straight line and make sure all of my points hit the line, which they do. Again, if you have a point that is not on the line or makes a curvy line, you plotted something wrong. So go back and check your positives and negatives and make sure you plotted them in the right place.